I'm Richard.
And I'm Andy.
And this is Rolling Dice's review of Frankenstein's Bodies.
Frankenstein's Bodies is a 2 to 6 player game by Yay Games. Created and developed by Andrew Harmon, the game plays in 40 to 60 minutes. For a full introduction and how to play the game, featuring Andrew Harmon himself, please check out our video here.
But if you've not got time for that video, here's a quick overview of the game. In Frankenstein's Bodies, you are an amateur surgeon working in Frankenstein's lab and trying to impress him by putting together the best two bodies you can. Unfortunately, there's not enough body parts to go around, so you've got to fight and steal for the parts that you need and take them away from other players whilst ensuring they stay on your boards. The player with the highest number of points at the end of the game wins. The points are worked out across two different scoring rounds, the first of which you choose when to score, but it has to be before the deck has run through once. The second scoring round happens either when the deck has run through for a second time, or as soon as one player has completed two bodies. So Andy, what did you think of Frankenstein's Bodies?
It was so much fun. There was so much laughter. The game is chaotic. The stages are so in flux. Like you can have a really good start. You can have like 3 parts of a body that's going to be perfect, and then immediately after your turn, all 3 parts can be taken, and then you're left with nothing. It doesn't always happen, but there are so many choices to the game.
Yeah, especially at the start of the game where you are just kind of setting things up, and your hand is just based on luck at that point. You've not had an awful lot of just, I'm going to hold this back, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. So if somebody does have a card that means they can steal something from you, there's probably not anything you can do at that stage. You just have to sort of sit back and be like, fine, just have this leg, just whatever you want, you know. So it does mean that you can sort of set up and be quite proud, and then by the time the turn comes back to you, it's like, okay, so everything's gone. I have nothing in front of me. What do I do now? But fortunately, there's always lots you can do. Like there's always, you can always place a body part. If not on you can put it on somebody else and mess them up. There's quite a few times when we've been playing where I've started with like, yeah, I'm going to go for blue male. Got all these body parts. Then halfway through the game, it's like, he's got blue male on his board, and there's only one of each body part and colour in the deck. So if it's over there, it means I need that. I need to get that off him. So I'm like, okay, how do I do this? Do I abandon blue? Do I try and steal it? And that means I've got to clean everything up. Or do I just try and mess him up so he abandons blue? So it's great. There's just constantly loads of things you can do. You can constantly mess people up, which is fantastic. And you're constantly getting messed up yourself, which is less fantastic.
Yeah, there's so many strategic options, and you really have to pick what you want to do and try and defend it as much as possible.
Yeah.
Because if I see you're going for blue male and I'm going for blue male, then it's just that there's just I can't explain it. There's just it's like a race, but it's not a race because you don't know what you've got in your hand. You could have so many different action cards to mess me up, and likewise you could just have. In our second game, Rich had stop cards, which are not in my labs, and they just cancel any action card you play. Me and Rich were fighting over a body, and constantly you just went, no.
It was great. I had a handful of, like, there was no body parts, it was all just the stop cards and steal cards. So I was just sat there with like 3 Master Surgeons in front of me, which protected so much of my body anyway, and it was just like my turn. It's like, okay, Andy, I'm going to steal that arm, and you were like, well, I mean, okay. Then it come back to you and you try and steal it back and be like, nope, that's not happening, buddy. What are you going to do about it? It was fantastic. I always love that mechanic, that being able to just sit there and feel quite quietly confident that if you do anything to me, then I can just stop it. But the really good thing of that is instead of just stopping, it moves it to another player. So instead of just being like, no, that doesn't happen, it's like, okay, that doesn't happen, and I'm going to make you do it to this person. And if it can't be done to anybody else, it has to get done to the player that's trying to steal it in the first place. Unless, obviously, they're protected in some way, but that means that quite often they'll just be messing themselves up, especially if they're trying to play a card on you to mess your body up. Say, okay, well now this is on my body, and I didn't want that to happen so much, so
that can really backfire.
Yeah.
Like if you're like, well, I'll take his Master Surgeon. It's a great defensive card, and and you're like, actually you won't, and then the Master Surgeon you have has to move.
Yeah.
So then you make some of your body parts actually more vulnerable, and then that's horrendous. It's not a nice feeling, which is brilliant. That's the sort of emotions we want to get from board gaming.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I had a lot of fun with that. I must admit, I was a little bit concerned when we first sat down. I don't think it explains very well, but I think when you actually get into it, it's a lot more exciting than it sounds. Especially the way that, like, it sort of ramps up. That first half is relatively slow. Like you said, it's all about sort of setting everything up. But then once the decks run through the first time, and only action cards are remaining in it, all the body parts are on the board. It's like, okay, got all these actions. Let's frickin' do this. So let's start stealing things. Let's start delving into the trash pile. Let's start, really messing other people up. And let's just hope that I'm okay.
It's a really interesting way the deck works, because the second phase, just the body parts are out. So if you can't see it, someone's got it in their hand, or it's in the trash bin. What's it called? The booty? The booty, not the booty. The body.
It's not just the body dump or something?
The body dump is brilliant. Fantastic. And so the action cards are there just to really help speed up gameplay. And another really interesting mechanic the game uses is the turn order.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the if you're first on your turn, you'll be last on the next turn because of the way the first player token moves round. And it really breaks up the standard simple, just so I'm always going to be the first player, you're going to be the second player, or just the simple worker placement move of grabbing the first player token.
Well, being in first place is quite an advantage because it means you've got first choice of all the cards that are dealt out on the table. You've got first sort of choice of what you're going to do. You're in quite a secure position when you're in first player, so it's really important to take that away and then make you second. I make you go last, on your next turn. Because, you quite often, if you've gone first, you sort of set everything up. It's like, yeah, I'm really happy with this. This is really good. But then next time you're last, so it's almost certainly not going to be that way. When it comes back to you, it really does start to mess you up, and it makes everything so tense because it's like, okay, really worried about what's going to happen to my body, or just like that somebody else is going to manage to sort of leapfrog me because, okay, they can steal this piece and they can do that and they can do that before I've had a chance to respond in any way. Unless you've got those top cards, there's not a lot you can do. You try and set your defensive wall up with the Master Surgeons, but they can be stripped from you like that anyway. So there's just nothing that you can. You just sort of feel quite helpless when it's not your turn a lot of the time. Yeah,
I mean, the main goal of the game is to score as many points as possible, and there's just no long-term strategy that you can employ. And I think that's what I like about it. It's frantic and
it's very responsive.
Yeah, there's so much player interaction in the game. It really is if you're annoyed with one of your friends and you don't know how to really explain to them how much you dislike them.
Yep.
Play Frankenstein's Bodies.
Yeah, it's great
because you'll just ruin their night.
I mean, I had to say "friend" at the end of every single interaction I had with Andy during that game, just to remind him that off the board we do like each other.
I came last by about 20 points in our game because I was targeted.
I mean, sure. I also managed to steal away victory from Andrew Harmon, the creator of the game who we were playing with at the time, which was quite wonderful. My turn was dead last, and I was like, right, what can I do? There's no way I'm going to win this now. Oh, but I could try and take victory away from the person that probably will win. So at the end, you get super bonuses for all your body matches in gender and colour. So he'd got a lovely male green body there, so I just added a single female red arm into the mix, and it just gets rid of all of the bonus. It's like, yeah, that's how we do. That's what we like in this sort of game, just really sort of messing people around. But that sort of perfectly illustrates that you're never safe when it's not your turn. The only time you have any sense of security is when you're putting cards down. And even then, you can still get messed up, Especially if you are trying to play a card on somebody else, then it's like, this might all just go to hell at this point,
Yeah, so, about the bad points of the game, what didn't you like?
I mean, as usual for me, the actual makeup of the game itself, Andrew's done all this himself, it's through Kickstarter, it's the first edition of the game. I'd have liked the boards to maybe be a little bit smaller, maybe a little bit thicker cardstock, but I'm always picky on that sort of thing. The game itself, I went in with a few concerns. My main thing is just the fact that it's not explained. You can't sell it very well to people when you're trying to explain how to play. I think the instruction manual does a relatively good job of like trying to kickstart you into the game.
See who did that?
I did do that on purpose, definitely. But I don't know. I think that's quite a hurdle to get over. Like, and it's not necessarily a major problem with the game itself because you can just drag people to sit and play something. I don't know. What did you think?
I would definitely. It's a big game. The boards that you get are the the operating tables you have. I think they could be shrunk down a bit just for ease of use for gamers who don't have that big a table. I mean, we were just okay, but we were at the limits on the gaming table we used. And I think I'm gonna say it. The artwork is functional without being eye-catching, wonderful. It's not. I would never. I don't think anyone's going to praise the artwork.
It definitely does the job. I agree.
Yeah.
Like, I kind of feel it would. I would rather it either be hyper realistic sort of photography, or perhaps
That'd be really grim.
it would be. But I think that's sort of one way to go, or perhaps a bit more in keeping with the way that everything's flying around the room. Just sort of completely the other way and just go super cartoony and a bit wacky and almost like sort of Munchkin-y type. You know, that sort of silly little art style, or like Cash and Guns, something like that.
Yeah.
I think that would have worked really well, but that's just that doesn't change how the game plays. And I think the game played, relatively well. It was quickish. It felt quite quick. I think we actually played in about an hour with 4 people. And we'd played with 3 people before, and that had worked quite well as well. I think the 2-player game, you essentially play the 4-player game in charge of 4 bodies each.
Okay.
I don't know how that would work.
I don't think that'd be as good.
But that's like games have a number of players, that is best suited to. It's always the way it goes. Any other complaints from you?
No, I think it's just art design, which I mean, to be fair, Andrew made the game completely on his own. It's a one-man team. So yeah, I mean, overall, I think it's a really for a first-time game.
Oh yeah, we certainly couldn't do better. And yeah, like you say, especially to say that he's done everything himself, it's turned out really well. I think a lot of the time when people do stuff by themselves, they can just sort of get in a bubble of, oh yeah, I think this is good, I think this is good, I think that this is good. It's obviously play tested. There's a lot, and that does come out through the gameplay.
So overall, I think it's not a big 2 thumbs up, but it's definitely a give it a go with your friends. If you love player interaction games, you're going to have a whale of a time. And
yeah. I'd still definitely recommend this. But like you say, I think if you are super into interaction, this is going to be the one for you. If you're not too much of a fan of that, like the sort of insecurity could get to a lot of people who might just not like not being in control a lot of the time. But if that is something you go for, then yeah, you'll have a lot of fun with this.